welcome back to the This and Yap podcast. I'm Hannah.
I'm Kayla.
And today we have new mics, new cameras, and lighting.
And a little studio festive setup.
Yes, so cute.
How's your week?
It was good. Yeah, I mean, it was kind of tumultuous, to be honest. I'm trying to get a puppy, and things are going a little sideways.
We're pretty sure she's being scammed.
Yeah.
So we want to talk about scams and catfishing this week. Hannah's going to tell her story. You guys can decide if she's being scammed or not. We're still like 50-50 on it.
Yeah, I'd say 60-40.
60-40, yeah.
Should we just get into it?
Sure, let's dive in.
Okay.
Okay, tell us about your experience trying to get the puppy.
So this has been about 2 months in the making. In the beginning of August, I messaged someone off of Kijiji, and they had the kind of dog I wanted for a good price. They said that they were based in Vancouver, and so I was like, oh, perfect. Ended up messaging her. She's like, yep, that's great. Like, put a deposit down and everything. And that day when I put the deposit down, I was like, okay, so like, what day can I expect to get the dog? And she's like, like they're super new, like they're fresh out the womb. So like legally you have to wait until they're 8 weeks old to rehome them. 8 weeks would be the last week of September, but she wanted to wait 9 weeks. So she said October 3rd or 4th.
Right.
She's like, okay, text you like closer to the day to confirm everything like logistics wise. Fast forward, a month goes by and I'm like, okay, it's closer to the date now, so I should follow up. So I sent a follow-up text and I was just like, hey, are we still good for the dates of October 3rd or 4th? Super excited, blah, blah, blah. She left me on red. So I waited a week and then I texted again and just said, hey, following up, like, just want to know if October 3rd or 4th is a good date because I'm taking time off work and like need to put my time off request in soon. No response. And at this point, I'm getting nervous.
Yeah, up until then, we all thought it was legit. Like, there were no red flags. There was photos of the dog. Communication was fine. Like, I feel like normally when it's a scam, I have been scammed before, but normally it's like, English will be broken and it will be kind of like worded weirdly. There'll be weird typos and whatever, but she was great.
Yeah,
and like,
she was fine.
Yeah, no red flags. And what deposit did you put down?
Just $100.
Okay.
Everything was fine, and then she just kind of started ghosting me. And so I texted back again the following day and said, hey, like, I'm getting really nervous just with the amount of scams that are on Kijiji. Like, I want to know if this is legit.
And this is like 2 weeks ago?
This is 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And this was the text message that she sent back. Hi, Hannah. I'm still aiming for those dates. October 26th. Arriving in Langley. Sorry, I have been slow on responding. I have had many so busy last while. Sorry, I don't blame you for thinking that. No, we are arranging our upcoming travel to BC next week. Leave here the 15 and hoping to arrive in Langley the next day. So I thought she was Vancouver based.
Oh, okay. You thought she was from Vancouver up until this point.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Kijiji ad said
Vancouver. And now she's saying she lives in Alberta and she needs to travel here to bring you the dog. Mm-hmm. And end of October now.
Yeah. So I texted back and I was like, do you mean October 3rd or 4th? Like the date that you had originally told me? And she's like, oh, yeah.
So is that the last time you heard from her?
No. So then I started getting stressed out after that text, obviously. So I was calling my brother and he's like, you should just call her and see if this is legit. So I was calling her repeatedly on my phone and on my husband's phone, so she didn't have his number, and never any answer, anything. So that was getting me like really nervous. And Noah was then like, Kate, you should FaceTime her and just be like, if you don't answer, like I'm done.
Yeah.
So I FaceTimed her and she answered.
What?
Yeah. She answered, and she's a real person with real dogs. She showed me the puppy that I'm getting.
Oh
and
my
she's like,
gosh.
sorry, I've been slow in responding. Like, yeah, it's still the plan, blah, blah, blah. And then really going into all of this detail on travel. So the dog's real. Everything's legit. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
So then on the phone, she just says, like, we're still planning on coming. Here's the dog.
Yeah.
And they're thinking about driving here or flying here.
So she said she doesn't know.
She's just being so sus with, like, when she was ghosting you and then changing the dates and stuff. I don't know. It's so hard because I've never heard of a scammer picking up FaceTime.
I know.
And the fact that the dog's real is a curveball.
I know.
And then I feel like also in the past, if I've felt like someone is scamming me, like I also was trying to get a dog off Kijiji before we had Scout, and it was a scam, and they were in Toronto and they were saying the same thing of like, oh, we need to fly him out, being weird with dates and whatever. But as soon as I was like, hey, is this a scam? Like, I'm worried about this being a scam. She got so defensive and angry. And I feel like that usually happens versus your person was like, oh, I understand why you'd think that.
Yeah. And she's like fully playing into it and it's like, oh, I'm so sorry I made you feel that way.
Yeah.
So then after all of this, she decided to call me yesterday when I was at work and was basically like, hey, Hannah, we have decided that we're going to fly the dog, but we just might do it next week. And I was like, why? And she's like, because there's another couple in Vancouver that wants to get a dog, and I guess WestJet allows 2 puppies from the same breeder to go in one crate for the same amount of money. So she wants to basically do a 2-for-1 or whatever. And she's like, is that okay? And I was like, no. I basically said, like, you told me October 3rd or 4th. I took this time off work and gave you ample notice that I was doing so. And you said that was fine. So...
Oh, and Hannah took a week off work.
Yeah, I took dog maternity leave.
Yes, starting today.
Starting today.
Yeah, to welcome her new puppy home and try to start training him and stuff.
Yeah. So I told her, I was like, no, my expectation is this dog is coming on the 3rd or the 4th, like you said. And then she's like, okay, then can you pay for the flight? And I said, no, I cannot pay for the flight because in your ad, you said everything's included.
Yeah, that was never the plan.
That is never the plan, and it's an extra like $400 or something. I said no, and she's like, oh yeah, you're so right, you're so right. And then the conversation ended there with basically me being like, no, my expectation is that this dog will be arriving today or tomorrow, and you will be covering the cost. I will be giving you the money that I promised you.
Yeah.
And then she calls back 15 minutes later and goes, oh, the vet's not here and the vet needs to sign off on the dog flying.
The vet was going to come to their house?
She's like, the vet's out of town for a week. And I was like, so go to another vet.
How rural in Alberta are we?
She's like, I'm not going to another vet. And I was like, why? Because I live 7 hours out of town and I don't trust any other vets. And I was like, okay, you live 7 hours out of town, but you have to drive into town to go to the airport anyways. So why not stop at a vet on the way to the airport?
Yeah.
She's like, no, I'm not doing that. And I was like, lady, I'm giving you solutions here. Like, come on. And she's like, no, I'm sending it to you next week. And honestly, I think the vet's in town. I think she just wants to wait until next week when this other couple says that they want to get this dog so that she can have a 2-for-1 like flying deal for these 2 puppies. I was like, no, that's unacceptable. And then we got in a back and forth, and this is where I might have been a little bit of a problem, but I was mad.
Yeah.
So I ended up saying to her, I was like, you know, you've really like screwed me over here. And she's like, I haven't done anything wrong. And I was like, you kind of have though, because I told you 2 months ago, I was going to be taking time off work. I then confirmed with you a month ago that I have taken time off work, and you have said this whole time, yeah, October 3rd or 4th. And then now you're saying you're getting it to me next week. I don't have time off next week. So I was like, you've screwed me out of a lot of money here, lady. And then she's like, I'm sorry, you said you work nonprofit. So how do you have all this money? Did I really scam you out of a lot of money? Did I really screw you out of a lot of money? And I was like, excuse me?
Not coming for your career.
Coming for my career. And I was like, I'm not going to tell you how much money I make. And she's like, I'm not asking that. I'm not asking that. And I was like, you know what? I was like, send me back my $100 deposit and I want to be done with you. Let's just part ways. And she's like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's part ways. We're like literally fighting over the phone. And then...
And you're at work?
I'm at work, yeah. I was in the stairwell.
This is yesterday?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
And I was getting white boy anger, dude. I wanted to punch the brick wall. But anyway, then I like took 5 minutes. I calmed down.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Hectic. So did she send you the money back?
Yeah, she did.
Oh.
I know.
Okay.
So I'm like, what kind of the frick scam is this?
Yeah.
I don't think it was a scam. I think she's just awful at her job.
Okay.
I think she's just super unorganized. And I think that she didn't want to pay the extra money to fly the dog out here because she'd be like losing money, like $400 or whatever.
Yeah. Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah. I think the same that it wasn't a scam. Mm-hmm. But she is just super unorganized and not a good communicator.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I know.
What's the point?
I don't know.
Like, she should have been upfront with all of that. And it's weird that she was acting like they were in Vancouver.
I know. It's so weird. So I reported her on Kijiji. And I was basically like, I just had an awful experience with the seller. And they're claiming to be from Vancouver. They're not from Vancouver. They're from Alberta.
Wow.
Yeah. Upsetting.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's so frustrating because it's been 2 months. It's like you could have found a different dog on Kijiji 2 months ago.
Exactly. But then I found on Kijiji another dog and we got him this morning.
Oh my god.
So it's a happy ending.
I'm going to meet him after this. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Phineas.
So cute.
After Phineas and Ferb.
Finn. Yeah, so he's a little ginger, so him and Scout are gonna be best friend ginger puppies.
Yeah, brother cousins.
Mm-hmm. And a little incest family.
Kayla, have you ever been scammed?
Yeah, I got scammed for a couch on Marketplace that was just like $100 deposit a couple months ago. It's so annoying.
Yeah.
And you feel like dumb too.
Exactly, because you're like, oh, I should have known better.
Yeah, and it's always like I hate it when they block you and you have your angry comeback. I'm like, go after yourself, like I'm so mad.
Do you message them after?
Oh, yeah. Then I also have had somebody use my art and scam other people with my art. Yeah. So like probably 8 months ago or 6 months ago, one of my friends sent me, they were like, oh, I saw your art on Marketplace, somebody else selling it. But she's like, it's all your photos with me in the photos.
Oh my
Literally
gosh.
me next to my pieces. And somebody's selling them.
Were they local?
Yeah, it was Burnaby.
You're kidding.
Yeah, so that's like half an hour from here where our husband's parents live. So yeah, her page had a bunch of my pieces and then other artist pieces that I have seen these other artists on Instagram and stuff like that. And she was selling them as commissions. So like people would order the piece and she would create it kind of thing, but she wasn't actually creating them. She was taking a deposit like I do when I do a commission. You take a 50% deposit.
Yeah.
And then just scamming people, but acting as me.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So then you have your name on something that
people think I'm scamming them essentially. So I know I was banning all of my pieces on her page. And then I messaged her just being like, where do you get off on doing this kind of thing? Like this is...
How dare you?
I was pissed. I should find the message, but I think I used some choice words. And then, because it's my reputation, so I was mad. Like, I don't want somebody writing a review about me being like, she's scamming people.
Yeah.
But I'm also not selling my art on Marketplace, so I don't know. So then I put it on my Instagram story. Anytime somebody's done something weird to me online, I put it on I publicly blast them. And then my followers go get so mad. Literally verbally abuse them. People were sending me like, everyone is going and messaging her and reporting her, but people would send me the screenshots of what they said to her, and I was like, oh my gosh, Kate, we don't want her to kill herself.
Off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was one. And then another one, I feel like I have a lot of stuff with art. I've had like people copy my pieces and that sort of thing. I hate that. And they'll
That's
like
the worst.
Yeah, and they'll like do write-ups about them or like just steal my write-ups about them about like their inspiration, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Sometimes I get like weird men in my DMs doing like weird stuff, and I don't know what the motive is. I had the other day on TikTok, I had a weird one. I don't know if it was a scam or not. You can tell me maybe, but so I get a DM on TikTok and he sends me the video of the piece that he wants, and I was like, oh yeah, it's available. Here's how much it costs, whatever. And he's like, okay, can you ship to what's Danish people called?
Denmark? I think.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, Denmark. He's like, can you ship to Denmark? And I'm like, yeah. We start talking about all the details. He's like, I'm just worried because I don't want the piece to get damaged or anything like that. I'm like, no, I've shipped to Europe before. Like, it will be fine. We're talking. He seems completely normal. And then he kind of starts like flirting with me a bit. He's like, how old are you? Whatever.
But that's kind of normal, too.
It's honestly normal.
Par for the course.
Exactly. I have like a lot of male clients, and it's like people will do that, and it's just like whatever. And I usually will tell Winston like, oh, I'm trying to sell a piece to this guy and I think he's in love with me, and I'll show him like the messages, and he like, I was showing him these ones and he's like, I don't care, just sell the piece, like you can have coffee with them, I'll be at the table next door.
He's like, get the bag.
Yeah, get that bag, sis, like we gotta put food on the table. He's supportive. So I was showing him the messages, because then the guy starts being like, the piece it's like of a body. He's like, oh, is that your body that like you like are referencing in the piece and whatever, but the piece has like these massive boobs. So I literally read that to Winston, and he's like, for $10,000 it could be. Like if he paid for me to have a boob job. But yeah, so he's kind of like flirting like this and whatever. And then, but he's still like supposedly planning on getting the piece, but he was like, oh, I'll give you the money on Monday, and this is like Saturday. Because he's like, my bank is weird with me transferring more than $2,000 at a time. So I thought that was weird. Oh, and the whole time he's telling me how rich he is.
Ew, immediate red flag.
Yeah, he keeps saying how rich he is, how he's this big businessman, whatever. He told me he's 25.
Yeah.
And he told me, he was like, oh, so the piece I had said like, oh, it's $4,000 USD. And then he was like, oh, I saw on your website that it's actually $5,500. Don't sell yourself short. Like, I have no problem paying the main thing. The $5,500 was,
gosh.
Yeah, the $5,500 was in Canadian.
Yeah.
So that's why I said 4,000. It's like the equivalent, or maybe it's $4,030, whatever.
Yeah.
But I was like, sure, if you want to pay the whole thing, that's fine. And he was like, oh yeah, a couple years ago, I made a ton of money selling NFTs. So now like I want to invest in real art, and I don't have a problem paying like a higher price for it.
Can you explain what NFT is for those who don't know? I know, obviously,
Okay.
but for everyone else. No, I'm just kidding.
You do know? Okay, NFTs, it's really hard to explain, but this like the Sparks Note version.
Yeah.
It's like digital art.
Okay.
And a couple years ago, people started buying and selling it sort of like Bitcoin.
Okay.
As like a currency almost. And it blew up. Justin Bieber, I think, bought a bunch of them and whatever. People made a ton of money doing it if they sold out like I think a year ago, and then it just crashed. So now they're worth nothing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, but some people made a lot of money doing NFTs. So supposedly that's what he did, and he's some big businessman in Denmark, whatever. So everything is going fine, and I'm thinking like, okay, I'm gonna sell the piece for 5,500 USD, like slay. That's like $7,000.
So good.
Yeah, I'm excited, but I'm also like until I see the money, like I talk to people all the time and they don't buy pieces, whatever. And then he asked me, he's like, hey, this will in no way affect the deal. I'm going to buy the piece no matter what, but I just wanted to know, are you single? And I was like, oh no, I'm in a relationship. Then
in a relationship, married.
I'm literally married. No, I was trying to be so casual, but I'm like, yeah, I mean like, it's open. I'm married. Like lying in bed next to my husband, like literally showing him. He's like, maybe just say no. But also it's like you scroll down 3 posts on TikTok and you can see him. Yeah, so then I say I'm married and he doesn't reply. And Monday goes by and he doesn't reply. So I'm like, hey, just following up. And then I send another text being like, I'm going to read them.
Yeah.
Because he goes insane. Everything was kind of about art, except for he's flirting, talking about my body now, whatever. And then he goes, you're so... And I'm like, so what? And he says, honestly, we'll talk about it after the transaction so it won't be weird and unprofessional. And then he goes, I'm so sorry to do this. You can just tell me to keep it professional if you want. And this will in no way change the transaction. I'm definitely buying the piece, but are you single? Haha. And I said, oh, haha, no, I'm in a relationship. And then he goes, figures, crying face. And then I say, can I grab your email, please, to send him the invoice? And he doesn't reply. And this is Monday when he said he'd like send the money. And then I say, I hope that doesn't deter you. Doesn't reply. I say, hi, are you still interested? This is like over the span of 2 days. Doesn't reply. And then I go, I thought you said my relationship status wouldn't affect the transaction, ... And then he replies on like pretty much right after that. And he goes, hey, I'm sorry for not being available. That's completely an oversight on my part. I'm on a business trip. And right now it's my first time checking my personal laptop and socials. Honestly, while I understand you being annoyed at me being unavailable and stuff, some of these messages are disproportionately unhinged for a business transaction.
How?
I know. Because it's like, bro, he's the one being like, I like your body.
Yeah, freaking freak.
And then like, being like, oh, this won't affect the transaction at all. Are you single? Whatever. And all I said was like, I thought you said that wasn't going to change your mind.
Yeah. You're holding him accountable to his
word.
word.
Exactly. So then he goes, and just to clarify, while I did get interested in maybe asking you out once the deal is done, it was never part of my initial plan or requirement for me to buy your art, which was why I originally reached out to you. And I replied, I'm like, sorry, I'm an artist, not a business person. I get excited when someone wants to buy a piece and naturally disappointed if they change their mind. I get a lot of inquiries and I get ghosted all the time. So I just wanted to check in while it's still on the top of your mind. He says, this made me feel way too uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable!
Yeah, he's replying to where I said, I thought you said my relationship status wouldn't affect the transaction. He goes,
he was uncomfy, but you weren't uncomfy when he was talking about your body.
Literally.
Are you in a relationship?
Yeah.
But you made him uncomfortable.
I made him uncomfortable. He goes, this made me way too uncomfortable, especially considering that I don't really think I was pushy, creepy, and I really tried my best to stress that personal discussion had nothing to do with my original intentions of buying your art. I'm sorry for having to go back on our deal, but I'm not comfortable with going through with this transaction because it shouldn't be this dramatic. Honestly, I wish you the best. So then I just said, I don't think you were pushy or creepy at all. I'm trying to sell it so hard.
You're trying to save the sale.
$7,000. I'm like, no, you've been wonderful. I love the patriarchy.
You like see the money going away.
Literally, I'm like, what's my lunch tomorrow? I'm like, I don't think you're a pushy or creepy at all. I just assumed you were ghosting because you hadn't replied to me today. And the last thing I said was that I was in a relationship, ... Whatever, it is what it is. And he goes, I understand. I'll try to find someone to buy your piece because of the loss you had with me. If you counted on that money or something, I can just send you some as a cancellation fee. What a dig. He bro thinks I'm poor. He's like, but I am honestly really sad that you jumped to the worst possible conclusion and went after me, not only because of your art, but because you seem like a really cool and nice person. Good luck with stuff, Kayla. And then literally 30 seconds after, he goes, all right, I'm assuming that you don't want a cancellation fee considering you're not replying, so I'll just block you now. Bye. And then I said, you probably have no money and we're never going to buy the piece to begin with. But I was already blocked, so it didn't go through.
Frick.
I was quickly screenshotting everything because I knew I was going to get blocked.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? But I'm like, okay, I don't think he was rich.
No.
His profile, he doesn't have anything on it.
I feel like actual rich people don't feel the need to bring up the fact that they're rich like every 10 minutes.
Literally, he told me he was rich like 100 times. And so then I'm like, and I don't think he was ever actually going to buy the piece because he never gave me his email. He never gave me his address. Like everything I asked him to like start filling out the invoice, he would dodge. So I'm like, hey, maybe he just wanted to talk to me. I don't know.
I think he wanted to just talk to you.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. What was his name?
Let me look. He told me.
I hope he's watching this podcast.
I hope so.
We think you're rude.
Yeah, we do. It was a weird name. I don't know if I ever even got it. No, I don't know.
Well, I hope he sees this.
We don't think you're a loser.
We don't think you're very nice.
I was never that desperate for the money. Oh my gosh, Kate, should we read our stories?
Yeah. Okay, let's get into the Reddit stories.
Okay. Let's start with yours.
Okay. So, This is from the Reddit thread r/catfish. I wish he had just been a catfish. That's the title. And it's from 1 day ago.
Oh.
I know. It's fresh. It's hot. A year ago, I met a man on old school RuneScape. A single dad, or so I thought. We hit it off fast, talking daily, playing games, and even dreaming of a future together. We'd text nonstop, fall asleep on the phone, and watch movies with his son. Everything felt real. But something always felt off. I grew suspicious he was catfishing me, especially after he kept dodging my request for a video call. I confronted him a few times, reassuring him I'd love him for who he was, no matter what he looked like. But he always denied it, and that pit in my stomach stayed.
Wait, what did they meet on?
RuneScape.
What's
Do you know what that is?
No.
It's like, I think it's like an RPG.
Okay.
Yeah. After 9 months, I ended things. It wasn't just the suspicion, it was the emptiness of loving someone without ever truly knowing them. I spent the next 2 months with no contact, though he'd still text and call occasionally to say he missed me. I ignored it, torn between lingering feelings and doubts. Then, one night, he sent another message. I still cared for him, so I started thinking about us again. I wanted answers, closure, maybe even a chance to move forward. I thought if I could just figure out who he really was, we could get past things. So I dug deeper, and this time I found something. His real name and face. At first I felt relief. I thought I had finally found him, the real him, but as I kept digging, what I uncovered wasn't what I expected. The truth hit me harder than I thought. He wasn't lying because he was insecure, afraid I wouldn't like him. No. He was lying because he was married, with a family, the whole time. I was devastated. I would have forgiven him if he'd been a catfish, if he had just lied about his appearance. But this broke me. He didn't just catfish me. He turned me into the other woman without me even knowing. I never thought I'd say this, but I wish he'd only been a catfish. Maybe then we would have stood a chance.
Why did she write that so intense?
I'm pretty sure
the journal.
I'm pretty sure that was courtesy of ChatGPT.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like a lot of catfishes are married and stuff like that.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Any online stuff, I'm like, there's at least a 70% chance that this man is married with children.
Yeah. How long did she say they were talking for?
So they were talking for 9 months.
Okay. That's a long time, and that's sad. But honestly, I feel like it's on you if you haven't seen his face after like 3 weeks and that's something you want to see and he's dodging that.
Yeah.
You're gonna go 9 months.
Yeah, the suspicion. I don't know. Sometimes I think that lonely people get to a point of desperation where they're willing to accept the bare minimum or even less than, because they're like, at least somebody is loving me. At least somebody is giving me attention.
Yeah.
At least I'm feeling some form of validation or affirmation. I could see somebody who is insecure, maybe who doesn't have friends or family or support system, just feels very alone, just getting sucked into this thing where they're like, oh, I'll just keep it going for a little while longer.
That's true. That's so valid. Because I think, like, it's easy when you're, like, happy in a relationship and whatever to be like, oh, I'd never do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think for me, I'm like, if any man is messaging me that's related to art or whatever, like that one I just talked about on TikTok, he's telling me all this stuff and I'm like, lies, lies, lies. Like, I don't know if he's 25, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
If he tells me he's single, I'm not holding my breath. I don't think that he's necessarily single. If they have a burner account with like no photo or anything like that, I'm like, I don't trust a single thing that you say. No. But I feel like it's like, if you are fantasizing about it already and you want it to be something, you'll fill in the blanks yourself. Mm-hmm. Or what's that song by Sabrina Carpenter? Lie to Girls. It's literally exactly that song of like, you don't even have to lie to girls. Like, we'll just fill in those blanks ourselves, or like lie to ourselves to like, I don't know, make it work.
Yeah, I think that the point you bring up about romanticizing things is probably exactly what happened.
Yeah.
You can romanticize somebody saying hi to you on the street when you don't know them. Then you can be like, oh my gosh, that's my soulmate. Like
100%. And I think that there can be something really romantic or almost like, it's like a blank slate when there's you don't know the person on the other side to idealize them and create your perfect person, basically. Like, I think about, like, Jules in Euphoria with Nate Jacobs.
Yes.
When he's, like, that burner account on some Grindr app or whatever.
Yeah.
And she's just, like, fallen in love with him, but she doesn't even know who the person is.
I forgot about that. That was crazy.
That's a good Catfish example. That was sad, but that's so brutal.
It's brutal. And then the comments say, I'm sorry you went through this. I understand what you mean. It feels like an additional level of deceit on top of the catfishing. And then somebody else said, I'm sorry, but like, how did you not know this was a catfish?
Yeah, I feel like I'm also middle, like, where I'm like, okay, you should have known.
Yeah, I'm also middle. Like, for you and I, we would know that's a catfish, but you don't know somebody is cognitively
Dumb as fuck. But yeah, I feel like most people who are getting catfish semi know they're getting catfish. Like, I think she's just lying to herself.
Well, she even said that's the reason she called it off originally, is because she thought she was getting catfished, or she was suspicious of that. And
But her post popped off. That was some good English.
I know. She really ate with that.
Yeah.
That was good.
That was like a
dissertation.
Story. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so you have a Reddit story you read. Okay,
yes. I err on the side of that's her fault.
I also err on the side of that's her fault, but I
don't feel bad.
I feel bad.
Okay, this one is in the Am I the Asshole group. Am I the asshole for unintentionally ruining my sister's marriage by catfishing her husband?
Yes.
This one is crazy. Okay, I'm at a loss here and I need some perspective. I'm a 27-year-old female and I'm very close with my older sister, Anna, who's 32. She's been married to her husband, Mark, for 4 years, and I've always admired their relationship. Mark is charming, funny, and everyone in the family loves him, but I've always had this nagging feeling that something was off. It started with small things, Mark making subtle, suggestive comments about my appearance when Anna wasn't around, or messaging me late at night to talk about random stuff.
Oh, no. Sorry, they're married?
Yeah, her older sister is named Anna. She's married to Mark.
Okay.
And the younger sister is writing in. I brush it off as him just being friendly or maybe a bit tipsy. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it and potentially ruin my sister's happiness over something that could just be my paranoia. Last month, things escalated. Mark texted me asking if I wanted to meet up for drinks without Anna knowing. That was the last straw. I didn't want to confront him directly because I knew he'd deny it and I'd end up looking like the bad guy. So I came up with a plan, one that I'm now regretting. I created a fake social media account of a girl named Emma. She was a typical attractive girl with interests that I knew Mark was into. I followed him and he followed back immediately. I started liking his posts, commenting casually, and within a few days he slid into Emma's DMs. Long story short, over the span of a few weeks, Mark was flirting heavily with Emma. He was sending explicit messages telling her how unhappy he was in his marriage.
No.
And even suggesting that they meet up. I was disgusted but also heartbroken for my sister. I screenshotted everything and saved it as proof. I debated for days on what to do, but eventually I decided I couldn't keep this from Anna. I showed her the messages. At first she was in disbelief, accusing me of trying to sabotage her marriage, but once she calmed down and really looked at the screenshots, she broke down. Anna confronted Mark, who denied everything at first, saying something like someone must have hacked his account. When Anna mentioned Emma by name, he went pale and admitted to everything. He said he was just bored and curious, but swore he'd never actually cheat on her. Now Anna is staying with me and she's filed for a divorce. My family is in chaos. My parents are furious at me for meddling and they blame me for breaking up their marriage. They say I should have just minded my own business and let Anna figure things out on her own. Even Anna, despite being grateful that I told her, sometimes looks at me with sadness, like I'm the one who brought all this pain into her life. Mark has been sending me angry messages, blaming me for ruining his life and calling me a manipulative bitch.
Oh my friend.
Part of me feels guilty, like I shouldn't have gone as far as I did, but the other part of me is relieved that Anna knows the truth. So am I the asshole for creating a fake profile to expose my sister's husband?
Okay, I have a few thoughts. Firstly, this is like a classic don't shoot the messenger situation. Yes. It's not her fault for like bringing this information to light. Do I think she was an asshole for creating a fake account? Yeah, I do. I think she shouldn't have gone about it that way. I think she should have just straight up told Anna, the sister.
Yeah.
I think she should have just straight up told her when her husband was being flirty and be like, hey, keep an eye on this because this is making me uncomfortable and I think this is disrespectful to you and your marriage. I don't think she should have gone to like super sleuthing, and that seems pretty shisty. That's something that Anna and the sister could have done together and like both been in on it. I think it's weird that she did it by herself.
I agree. When I first like skimmed it through, I just read the beginning and I was like, oh, I have no problem with that. Like, she's obviously not the asshole like the man is, whatever. But then when I was reading it through in detail before you came over, I was like, wait a second, she was messaging him for weeks, getting explicit photos and flirting with him at night and everything like that.
Yeah.
I was kind of like, is she into it in any way? Because why did she need to go so far as to get explicit photos and everything like that when
So
like
true.
she could have gone to her sister after he started initially messaging her, or even just started flirting.
Yeah.
And been like, hey, so he does this, he makes comments about my body, he texts me late at night, and now he's texting this random girl that's me or whatever. She didn't need to like sext with him for weeks and get photos of his ding dong. Like, that's crazy to me. That's a little weird.
That's very weird. Yeah, it's almost like she needed the most damning evidence to prove his guilt.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like, I don't know. It's like, obviously he is the problem. And that's really sad for like the sister, Anna. She's not the asshole, but I just think that's so weird. Like, when I think about it in perspective of like me doing that to my sister, I would never.
No. I was thinking about it like
us.
Yeah. Me and you. I would never do that. No.
Imagine. No, that's so weird.
It's so weird.
Like, if that's so weird. If Winston was being shiesty and you went and made a fake profile.
Yeah.
Like, I would think that you are definitely part of the problem, or vice versa.
Yeah.
If you made a fake profile and was talking with him, flirting flirting is never a one-way street.
Nope.
And he's sending photos and stuff like that, and you keep doing this for weeks.
Yeah.
And then the fact that she was like, oh, I took screenshots but couldn't decide what to do with them, to show her or not. Like, was the whole point of this not to show her? Yeah, so at first I was like, oh, she's not the asshole, but now I don't know.
I think she's the asshole.
Yeah.
I think she's an asshole in the
guy
equation.
is more of an asshole.
I think he's an asshole too.
Yeah. But you don't do that to your sister. And I understand the family being upset. I think that she should have gone to her and been like, hey, he texts me at night. Like, that's weird. And he's making comments about me, whatever.
Yeah.
She should have told him that and like her concerns. And then, the sister could have figured it out because it's her relationship.
Yeah, 100%.
She didn't ruin the relationship. Like, the problem is him, definitely. But just isolated as a sister, as a friend, like, that was such an awful thing to do.
Have you seen that girl on TikTok that does those, like, trying to see if my boyfriend will cheat or whatever? And she has a fake account or something, and she always, like, DMs these girls who, like, ask her to, their boyfriends. And she starts flirting and is like, hey, you want to hang out or whatever? And then she's always like, are you single? And they're majority of the time like, yeah, I'm single.
Wow. That's awful.
I
Why do
know.
I feel hurt just like thinking about that?
I know, but that's her job.
Wow.
Like, that's what she
They
does to
pay
make
her?
money. I think so, yeah.
That's crazy. Doing the Lord's work. Well, I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
They're the girlfriend or whatever is involved. But that's just so sad.
I know.
That's
it's just
heartbreaking.
crazy that, like, people cheat so easily.
I know.
So gross.
It's so gross.
Don't cheat.
Don't cheat. We'll catch ya.
Anyways, I think that's all of the stories we have today. So
We hope you guys like the good quality.
yeah, and thank you so much for joining us, and we're excited to make more good quality videos and
We have
audios like this.
Yes, we have a lot of good topics coming up. We want to do a Diddy deep dive.
Oh my gosh,
into
yes.
all the drama.
We must.
Yeah, and then
And a Halloween episode.
Yes, a spooky episode.
Yeah, I'm excited for that.
Share if you like this episode. Share with your friends, please, or like and subscribe. But if you share with your friends, that is the biggest thing. It means the world to us.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.